Welcome back, everybody. Once again, we're out here doing another video that we don't want to do, but we have to do because the ATF and the Department of Justice are up to their nonsense. So once again, they're coming for pistol braces. This is not deja vu. I did a video just like this back in December, and they have come up with new tactics, a new scheme of maneuver, if you will, to come after them. So we're going to walk you through that, and then basically like what they're considering to be a short barrel rifle under this proposed rule change, what they consider to be a brace pistol, what they consider to be a rifle, those sorts of things, and then what we can do about it. So I will just let you know right now, I am filming this. It is just after 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 7th. So the actual comment section for this is not open yet. That may happen a day or two from now when it's filed in the registry. It may happen a week from now. I don't know when. Follow me on all the different social media that you see here, and whenever it is up, I will let you guys know, and there will be a link to comment on it. There should be a link in the video description as well if you're watching this. So basically, as of today, the ATF just released this, and it says on June 7th, 2021, Attorney General Merrick Garland signed the ATF proposed rule 2020R-01, factoring criteria for firearms with attached stabilizing braces, amending ATF regulations to clarify when a rifle is intended to be fired from the shoulder. And then it says, what is the rulemaking? And I'm probably going to jump around in this video a little bit with editing, simply because typically these things are like 2 pages. This thing's like 90 pages. So I'm going to just hit the highlights for you guys. If you guys want to read all of it, again, there'll be a link in the video description where you guys can check it all out. So the proposed rule would amend the definition of a rifle, respectively, by adding a sentence at the end of each definition to clarify that the term rifle includes any weapon with a rifled barrel and equipped with an attached stabilizing brace that has an objective design feature and characteristics that indicate that the firearm is designed to be fired from the shoulder. Next point up is set forth a worksheet, and this is going to be key. You guys will see this here in just a second. Set forth a worksheet titled Factoring Criteria for Rifle Barreled Weapons with Accessories, commonly referred to as stabilizing braces, ATF Worksheet 4999, to aid the firearms industry. Yeah, sure, that's what they're doing. They're aiding the firearms industry. To aid the firearms industry and public in understanding the criteria that the ATF considers when evaluating firearm samples that are submitted with attached stabilizing brace or similar component or accessory. The proposed rule would not affect stabilizing braces that are objectively designed and intended as a stabilizing brace for use by individuals with disabilities and not for shouldering the weapon as a rifle. Such stabilizing braces are designed to conform to the arm and not as a buttstock. All right, now let's jump over to the actual document. Earlier in the video, I mentioned commenting, and the comment period, they say anyway, is going to be 90 days after when it's put into the Federal Registrar, so you guys can see that here on your screen. And then there's just some rules about how you actually need to comment. You have to have your name, address, those sorts of things. So just check that out here on the form and make sure that when we actually start entering the comments that you are, compliant. Otherwise they don't count and they just throw them out, which is just crazy. So there is that. And then moving on to what is actually happening. The letter states that the GCA and NFA regulate firearms and, with limited exceptions, do not regulate individual components. Accordingly, ATF does not classify unregulated components or accessories alone under the GCA and NFA. They say that, but that's exactly what they're trying to do. However, components or accessories, when attached to a firearm, can affect the classification of a firearm because, 1, the components or an accessory's likely use may be relevant in assessing the manufacturer or maker's purported intent with respect to the design of a firearm, and the design component or accessory may result in a firearm falling within a particular statutory definition. Examples include the attachment of a forward secondary grip to a pistol, where the resulting firearm would no longer be designed to be held and fired with a single hand. So if you have like a vertical foregrip on a pistol, then it becomes an NFA item, a Natural Firearms Act item, which is very heavily regulated for the new folks out there. A stabilizing brace, of which there are several variations, is yet another example of a component or accessory that may change the classification of the firearm to which it is attached. That's what they're saying anyway. Moving on down to the meat and potatoes of it here, application of ATF Worksheet 4999. Similar to the factoring criteria for weapons, which is one of the things that the ATF does for importation and other things that they do, ATF Form 4590 which is used for importation, there you go, of pistols and revolvers. The proposed ATF Worksheet 4999 has a point system, assigning a weighted value to various characteristics of the fully assembled firearm as configured when submitted for classification. So just go over that real quick. Typically, whenever there's a new product out, it will be submitted to the ATF, their FATD branch. I'm not making that up. That is actually what it is. And they will say what classification the firearm falls into, legally speaking. That said, companies rarely do that unless there's something like groundbreakingly different, because it's just not necessary, typically speaking. A firearm that accumulates less than 4 points in Section 2, which we'll get to in a second, and less than 4 points in Section 3, will be generally determined not to be designed to be fired from the shoulder unless there is evidence that the manufacturer or maker expressly intended to design the weapon to be fired from the shoulder. How would they know that? There's no way to know that, and we'll get into that here in just a second. A firearm that accumulates 4 points or more in Section 2 or Section 3 will be determined to be designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder. Getting into the actual point system itself, these point values range from 0 to 4. How they came up with those numbers, nobody knows. Congress didn't pass a law, nobody voted on that. The ATF is just making this up as they go along. So the point values range from 0 to 4 points based on the degree of the indicator, explained as follows. 1 point, minor indicator, the weapon could be fired from the shoulder. So with that being said, in theory, the way I'm reading this, under this new proposed rule change, every single gun on the planet would get 1, because you could take a pistol and put it on your shoulder and fire it. You could. Could be fired from the shoulder, right? 2 points, moderate indicator, weapon may be designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder. 3 points, strong indicator, the weapon is likely designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder. 4 points, decisive indicator, the weapon is designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder. And again, those determinations are all made by unelected bureaucrats that work for the ATF under this proposed rule change. Nobody who's responsible to taxpayers at all. So just keep that in mind. Now we'll get into the actual worksheet itself, at least the example that they give us for this proposal anyway. So we have the weapon, it has the make model on there, and then it has Section 1 prerequisites. So the weapon must weigh at least 64 ounces. And the reason they pick that is because most traditional handheld pistols, like a Glock 17 or something like that, weigh well under that. So that's what they're saying, that, like, for instance, an AK without a stock that is imported into the country, most of them weigh more than that, right? Just as an example. The weapon must have an overall length between 12 and 26 inches, and the weapon must meet both prerequisites in order to proceed to Section 2. So the 26 inches there, basically what that is under 26 inches, it's considered a pistol, typically by the ATF, and if it's over that, it's considered a firearm, typically by the ATF. There are exceptions to that, but 9 times out of 10, just go with that. So there is that. So Section 2, accessory characteristics. Again, if you get more than 4 points here, you're out. It's an SBR, and you're going straight to jail if you own one without their approval. So it goes into accessory design, not based on a known shoulder stock design, 0 points. Incorporate shoulder stock design features. What are those? No idea. 1 point. Based on a known shoulder stock design. 2 points. Rear surface area. Device incorporates features to prevent use as a shouldering device. So I do have an example of that. So this is a mag pull brace, and for example, it has a QD end plate here on the rear. So basically, that would, in theory, be a feature that would prevent shouldering it, because no one in the right mind would want to have a QD stock sling attachment digging into their shoulder. Minimize rear surface, lacking features to discourage shouldering. I don't know. I literally have no idea what that means. So there is that. Rear surface is useful for shouldering the firearm. Again, anything would be useful for shouldering the firearm, like on an AR pistol, for example. The buffer tube, if you put it in your shoulder, makes it more stable. So I'm not sure, and that's without any type of brace on there at all. Material added to increase the rear surface for shouldering. So how do we know if the material added is for shouldering or is to make it more stable? So for example, right, when you're trying to hold a braced pistol like this, and with your tension here in your wrist, get that increased stabilization that you can't get without it, then is material added for that down here at the bottom? I don't know. Is it added for shouldering it? We don't know. For example, putting your arm through this particular model here and actually wrenching it down 100%, the added material on this versus this makes it more stable when firing it one-handed. But are they saying that same added material then also makes it easier to shoulder? How do they know the intent there? They don't. And somebody in Washington, unelected, is just going to make it up. Adjustability is another factor here. So non-adjustable fixed design. So actually I don't have one of those out here, but that gets 0 points. Adjustable or telescoping attachment designed for shouldering, that gets 2 points. Again, how do you know it's designed for shouldering? For instance, on this particular brace here, if it is classes for MP5, if it is all the way attached, you can't even grip the pistol with it around your forearm. In order to actually grip it comfortably, it has to be out here and then attached to your forearm, if that makes sense. So they're saying the telescoping feature of it makes it more likely to be designed to be shouldered, but it also makes it more likely to be easily used to fire one-handed. Stabilizing support. Counterbalance design, non-folding, 0 points. Counterbalance design that folds, creating a rear contact surface. Honestly, I'm not sure what that they're even talking about on that one. And I should mention, guys, some of these terms are explained later on in this actual document. I'm just not going to get into them because this video is going to be way too long as it is. Or a fin type design with an arm strap that gets 0 points. So this particular one here, made by CAC Industries, they do make arm straps for them. And it is definitely a fin type of device. Apparently, according to them, would get 0 points under that one. And a counterbalance design that folds, creating a rear contact surface. Again, I'm not sure what that is that they're referencing there. Fin type design without an arm strap gets 2 points. So this one here, without an arm strap, 2 points. With an arm strap, 0 points. That makes lots of sense, ATF. Or a cuff type design that fully wraps around the arm, that gets 0 points. I would imagine that would be this one here that we just talked about because it fully wraps around the arm. Cuff type design that partially wraps around the arm. This is an SBA3. I'm guessing that's what they're getting at here because there's not as much. You guys can see there's a huge difference in terms of how much would actually be in contact with your arm. So that one gets a point. I don't think this one does because it fully wraps around. A cuff type design that fails to wrap around the arm. I don't think I've ever seen one of those. Gets 2. A split stock configuration not designed to wrap around the shooter's arm gets 3. How do you know it's intended to wrap around the shooter's arm? So, because this is a split design. So would this be 3 or would it be 0? I don't know. I literally have no idea looking at this one right here. Again, if at any point there's 4 points or more, then SBR or, some other type of NFA item. Now we're going to move along to section 3 of this little checklist here. Worksheet, the length of pull with accessory in the rearmost lock position. I've mentioned this previously in earlier videos, but if you guys haven't watched them, that's fine. We get lots of new people here. Length of pull under the ATF definition, you guys can check it out on their website. Length of pull only applies to actual stocks. But in this case, they're trying to apply a standard to a stock to an item that's not a stock. So just keep that in mind. Their definition for length of pull literally doesn't apply to this, but they're saying it does. Can't make this stuff up, folks. All right, so length of pull, less than 10.5 inches, 0 points. And what they mean by length of pull is basically the period, or rather the point from your trigger to the rearmost point here of our brace. So if that is 10.5 inches or under, you get 0 points. If it's 10.5 but under 11.5, then you get 1 point. And I should also point out, guys, that certain devices, this would be a good example. This one here can fit multiple types of attachment points. So this is for an AR-15, but they make them for AKs and other things like that. So this brace would have a different length of pull when mounted on a different tube, if that makes sense, right? So they're trying to score this in a way that is super subjective because they don't know what it's mounted on. Make sense? All right, but they're saying that it applies to that individual weapon, not so much the brace, I guess, is what they're trying to say. good luck making sense of this stuff. So, and then they go all the way up to if it has 13.5 inches and over, and then it gets 4 points. So you are an automatic no-go at this station. If that is the case, straight to NFA jail. Attachment method: standard AR pistol buffer tube, 6 to 6.5 inches of length. There's 0 points. That, I think, is what this one is here. AR pistol buffer tube with adjustment notches. Oh, CAC type, never mind. They specifically said this one. So this one here, you get 1 point. Adjustable rifle buffer tube. Not sure what that is. Adjustable PDW type guide rails. So that would be these, like we have here. These are the guide rails, like that. Those ones get 1 point. Extended AR pistol buffer tube, and then that gets 2 points. Inclusion of folding adapter, extending length of pull. So that would be like if you had a law tactical folder on there, for example, then you get 2 points automatically. Use of spacers to extend length of pull, 2 points automatically. Modified shoulder stock with rear replaced by a stabilizing brace. Never seen that, but okay. 3 points. Attachment method creates an unusable aim point, i.e. slant. That gets 3 points. So they're trying to say that you can't use like optics with it, for example, in the way it would be configured with your arm. Stabilizing brace modifications configuration. Cuff type or fin type design with strap too short to function, 2 points. So let me get into that real quick. So on this particular one here, it's SBA 3. This one does fit me. It fits on my arm just fine, but I'm a average sized guy, right? So I'm 6 foot, 200 pounds. I can pretty much guarantee you, I don't know it for a fact, but if you took this and put it on like Robert Oberst, who's a gigantic power lifter and a mountain human being, it probably wouldn't fit him. Whereas other ones that are even smaller than this would fit my wife just fine, but may not fit me. So again, it's completely subjective here that some person in DC working at the ATF is going to say what fits you. How would they know that? They have no idea. All right, so cuff type or fin type design with strap made out of elastic material. I haven't seen any of those, okay? But if you do have that, 2 points. Fin type lacking an arm strap. This one, 2 points automatically. Cuff type design with strap removed, 4 points. Automatic NFA prison for you. So if I pulled this strap off here, or this strap off here, then all of a sudden it's a SBR. If the strap's on there, may or may not be. You may be good to go. Take the strap off, SBR, straight to NFA jail, 4 points automatically. Brace accessory modified for shouldering. No idea what that means. Modified shoulder stock, originally a shoulder stock, 4 points for both of those. Straight to NFA jail for you. Peripheral accessories. So these don't have to do with the brace themselves, but if they're included on a braced firearm, then they may send you to jail. Presence of a hand stop. So previously, before this proposal, and currently as the law is right now, hand stops have absolutely zero input or importance, I guess you could say, on determining what a firearm is. The ATF has been very specific in multiple letters stating that only 90-degree vertical pistol grips, again, 90-degree, they've been very specific about that. Only 90-degree pistol grips count for determining whether or not something is an SBR. But now they're saying a hand stop could. Keep in mind, hand stops oftentimes are not hand stops. Oftentimes they're barrier barricades. When you go to drive something into a barrier to get better stability, and you could absolutely do that one-handed, but now they're saying that counts as 2 points towards your bad card. Presence of a secondary grip, again, indicating two-handed fire. And the way they say secondary grip, again, you can look into the rulings. They're very specific about 90 degrees at 4 points. Presence of a rifle type backup, flip up sights or no sights. Or no sights. Okay, so if you have rifle type sights, you get a point. And if you have no sights, then you get a point. Okay. Presence of a reflex sight with fold to side magnifier with limited eye relief, 2 points. What if it has extended eye relief, like a scout scope, for example? What do they define as limited? Because a scout scope, you could definitely use extended out and you could still see it. So what is the limitation of limited? Some bureaucrat's going to decide that and decide whether you go to jail if this goes through. Presence of a sight scope with eye relief incompatible with one-handed fire. once again, what's incompatible with one-handed fire? There's definitely people right now who are, you know, full-blown adults who are under 5 feet. In a lot of cases with an extended arm would be able to use just about any scope. Interesting. Presence of a bipod or monopod. 2 points. Weapon configured weighing more than 120 ounces. 4 points. That's with a magazine unloaded. Weighted with a magazine unloaded, according to them. 4 points. So if your gun is just heavy, automatically you're going to ATF jail under this, unless you register it as an NFA item. So again, those are the big points, guys. Again, there will be a link to this document. I'm not going to go through all 92 pages, but that is the proposal right now. And there's not a lot of braced firearms out there on the market that will not get you 4 points in one of these 2 sections. So basically what they're trying to do with this worksheet is take them all off the market. Again, we need to comment. So last time they did this in December, they were overwhelmed with comments and they took it down because the pressure was so strong against them. Of course, that was under a different administration. Now there's a new administration, a new attorney general, and we're probably going to need more comments in order to have a similar result. Additionally, there will be links down below to contact your congressman and senators about this. And if I find a decent sort of like a form letter, I will include a link to that as well that you guys can use as a basis. But if not, always be polite, professional, and follow whatever rules that they have in terms of commenting on this on the ATF's websites to make sure it gets counted, because what's the point of commenting if it's not counted? And then to your senators and stuff, make sure you let them know very clearly that this is absolutely unacceptable and is, number one, unconstitutional, as well as illegal under the current laws that govern the NFA. And I know there's people out there that are going to say it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. It does matter. Again, it mattered in December, it mattered with M855, it's mattered with a lot of things out there. So we need to stand up because right now there's, I would estimate, probably 10 million, if not more, of these types of firearms out there in circulation. And if this thing was to go into effect 90 days from whenever it's submitted, then literally there's tens of millions of Americans who would be felons overnight. And the vast majority of them don't watch YouTube, don't watch firearms related content on the internet. They just wouldn't know. And they're gonna show up at the range with one of these items and potentially be hauled off to jail and spend at least 10 years in a federal prison because of it. That's what this is trying to do. And that's insane. That's just immoral, completely immoral. And we need to stand up against it, guys. So I think I beat that dead horse enough. Again, all the stuff will be down below in the video description for you guys to make our voices heard, because that does need to happen. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Hopefully the next video will be under better circumstances, and I look forward to seeing all of you in that video.